Let's talk a little bit about membership recruiting within the group. And I want to start with saying only add people to your group that add value to your chapter and will be beneficial to all the other members of the group, both they can contribute and that they can receive. Think of they're a good fit. Point number one that we'll talk about, inviting. Guests never show up unless they're invited. So a good general rule after a decade of doing this is about 1 in 4 people that are invited will actually show up to the meeting. Don't invite people to join because you're not doing that. They'll have to come to a couple meetings, get to know people, and go through a membership interview. Invite them to come check it out. You'll introduce them to some other local business professionals. They might enjoy our meeting format. And plus, it's only either an hour or 90 minutes of their time to come check it out. 2, remember to pre-register your guest. Last year, when a guest was pre-registered, 88% of the time, they showed up to a meeting eventually. As a group, if you are trying to grow, it's helpful to set a target. And setting a target comes in a couple different ways. First is, how many guests do you want to host over the course of a month or a year? The more common one, and the route I prefer, is, are there specific people or professions you want to target, invite that would add value to your group? For example, I've got a lot of groups right now that are targeting general contractors and remodelers, or estate planning or family law attorneys. Hone in on that, send out a couple invites, keep in mind the rule of 1 out of 4 that you invite will show up, and then once they attend the meeting, your job is a couple things. 1, make sure it's a good meeting. That's what members see. The last thing you want to be as a group that is a good recruiter for other groups. And what I mean by that is, the most depressing phone call I'll get from a visitor when I ask, how'd the meeting go? Or how'd your visit go? Is, gosh, I really like the concept, but do you have another group? Let's talk about item number 2. An option that you can do as a group, and this is usually chairman initiated, is you can select a recruiting coordinator. And it's as simple as it sounds. It's someone who will talk about who we're trying to target and manage an invite list and check in on the status. And that's as simple as saying, hey Jane, how'd the invitation go, or what sort of response did you get when you invited Bill, the estate planning attorney? And we'll check in on it over the course of the meeting. It gets members thinking about inviting, which the only way that guests show up is either one of 2 ways. They're invited or they find you off the referralsgroup.com. When a guest visits, this sounds very common sense, but your job is to make them feel welcome. One of the best things about these groups is as members you become friends. One of the worst things about these groups is as members you become friends. A lot of times I've been to meetings where I'll notice all the members talking to each other and a guest is left to the side. I've been guilty of it myself. You get focused on, we've got a short amount of time and we've got a lot to accomplish in that short window. But reach out, make a guest feel welcome. Guests end up joining groups where someone else other than the person who invited them reached out to them, took them out for coffee, took them out for lunch, got to know them, learned about their business, took an interest in them. Then when they came back for the second and the third visit, they got to know other members other than the person who invited them. Last and most important in recruiting is don't add people just to add a number. Don't sacrifice quality for quantity. You'll end up managing a group of people. And I always think back to a group I started over a decade ago, and I won a national award with it, where we started a group with 45 people in it, and 2 years later we had 0. And the reason that happened is we started with a lot of people who were really good at what they did, and then we just took anybody who could write a check after that to fill our numbers. And about 9 months in, the really good members started to get frustrated because they were having to teach basic business habits to people that we never should have accepted in the first place. So take your time, get to know people, hire slow, fire fast, get to know them. A typical guest from initial visit to becoming a member should take at least 6 to 8 weeks, which is typically 3 to 4 meetings, plus a membership interview, plus a couple face-to-face meetings with individual members. Take it slow, get to know them, make sure it fits. Because when you add them quickly, it only short-term benefits one person, and that's me.